Well, it is the first day of the second set of groups here at Worlds with coverage brought to you by Alienware, and I'm joined by Fudge after Cloud9 has officially made it out of groups, ending the tiebreaker curse, I guess, that has plagued us for so long. Fudge, what's going through your head right now? I mean, what was that moment like right after you realized that you guys had made it out of groups and headed into quarters?
Um, it felt obviously really insane because going into groups, I had the expectation that we would probably be the worst team, or us and Rogue would be the worst teams in the group. And obviously, it was very surprising when FPX feels like they're not as good as expectations were. And um, after being 0-3 in the first couple days, my hopium was definitely on the bit low on the low end. So after winning, it was like an insane feeling. It was like similar to winning LCS Spring Finals, but I would say even more so. Um, and I don't even remember what happened anymore.
Well, you played a lot of games. You've been playing for many hours, I should say. Like we're recording this after the tiebreaker, but you guys played two in the very beginning of the day too. So, well, here, let me also ask you what changed, right? Because like we did a run it this week, and we just for fun we're making predictions on how the teams would do, and made it jokingly said that Cloud9 has like a 2.5% chance of making it out. I think other people would have also given like pretty tough odds after that first round robin. So what changed? I mean, how did you guys go from a situation where you were down so far to now turning around and winning today?
um, it's honestly really hard to tell because from my perspective, it feels like the other teams actually played pretty poorly. I don't want to like make us sound like, oh, we just got lucky because the other teams are bad, but I do think that it felt like the other teams were not that clean, especially FPX and Rogue. I do think that one seems very very good right now, but FPX and Rogue definitely I don't think uh, were as good as expected, but um, I do think that we sort of just realized that we had nothing to lose after being 0-3, and we went into games without the being scared of making a mistake, and I think it made us make a lot uh, maybe riskier decisions, but I do think riskier decisions sometimes win you games.
Well, really quickly on the FPX thing, I think because there's going to be so much conversation about it, you played against them. What do you think their issues were? Because I mean they were projected originally to be the first seed from LPL. I know surprisingly didn't get that, and then just seemed to collapse here at World. So, what do you think their I'm not going to ask you what their behind the scenes issues were because maybe they had some we don't know. But like on the Rift, where do you think they were failing?
Honestly, they just made a lot of really flippy decisions. I think even very similar to the decisions we make, where sometimes we lose against really bad teams, and we sort of just make really flipped fights in early game. Like for example, the game against us, they flipped like a fight at Crab after like Graves died to a gank that was very obvious from Leona. So I mean Rakan, sorry. And I think they just make a lot of really flippy decisions, and I think that's something Damwon don't really do. Um, and very obviously, Damwon is a much cleaner team, and FPX can lose games to us and Rogue pretty consistently. It seems like.
Well, at what point in time today did you sit back and say to yourself like, wait, we might be able to pull this off? Because I'm sure you had optimism coming into the day, or hopefully you did. But like, at what point in time were you starting to be like, oh my god, is this actually going to happen?
If I'm being honest, I didn't have optimism coming into the day. I thought that we were much worse than uh, FPX, and I thought that Rogue beat us last time, so they might beat us again. And honestly, we were 0-3, so it's really hard to have a lot of optimism, even if it's. I mean, a lot of the time it's like fake optimism, where you're saying, yeah, we beat these guys, like they just got lucky last time. But that's in my mind, I didn't actually think we were a better team, and the time I realized that we could win was after we beat Rogue, and I also watched FPX play against Damwon before that, and I thought they were actually playing pretty poorly. So I thought that we could win. Obviously, as well, FPX. The first time we played against FPX, we also were in a very good position to win the game, and we sort of just threw it away. So I felt like it was very possible for us to beat them, and that's what happened.
There's been a lot of conversation, I think, about the meta evolving pretty interestingly here at Worlds. uh, there's a lot of different picks and champions that we didn't necessarily see in play-ins that are popping out here. And so, do you? I guess as we head towards quarterfinals now, which sounds great to say, do you feel like you've gained a ton throughout groups? Is there more work to be done on figuring out the best optimal way to play the game? Or maybe you already feel like you know the best champion setup, but you understand the meta. It's just about the execution. I don't know.
In terms of the meta, I think the biggest pickup for me going from play-ins into groups was Graves, because at the start of our bootcamp, or I guess when all the Asian teams initially came here and we started scrimming against some of the Asian teams, all of them were playing Graves, or at least some of them were playing Graves, not necessarily all of them. But in the West, whilst we were scrimming against EU before they were here, not a single person played Graves. It didn't exist in top lane. And I think that was the biggest change. And we didn't have many scrims actually during play-ins or going into groups. So it felt like I didn't have much time to pick up Graves, and I sort of just picked it up after playing scrims twice against, I'm not going to say the team, never mind. I didn't even say the team. But yeah, we sort of just picked it up randomly, and well, it's not random, but we picked it up randomly.
Yes.
I guess we can say. And it seems like I'm pretty happy with Graves being in the meta, because I do think that I'm very good at the champion. I don't think that I actually played that well on it today. And I didn't play up to the standard that I expected myself when it comes to that champion. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it evolves, because I do think there are counterpicks to Graves that are very unconventional, like mages in top lane. That Zhao, who actually is the only top lane I think that plays mages, at least recently. So I think it's very interesting to see what's going to happen in quarterfinals.
Well, speaking of quarterfinals, today's games were pretty messy. And yeah, I'm sure all of you guys have moments that you're thinking of where you're like, oh man, I wish that hadn't happened. So how much work do you think there is to be done before quarterfinals, acknowledging that at this time we don't know who you're going to be playing against?
I think there's a lot of work. Obviously, I think because we're second seed, we're probably going to be playing against the first seed of another group that's very good. So it's going to be a pretty hard quarterfinals, but I do think we have the potential, because I think we were able to put up a fight against someone, at least in our second game against them, and it did feel like they were beatable. And I do think that they're probably the cleanest team at Worlds right now. Maybe you could argue EDG other than them. So I definitely think we need to play a lot better than we are right now to actually like have a high chance of winning. But I'm not going to rule out there's definitely a chance. Because I already made that mistake before, thinking that there was a very low chance and it's almost impossible, but I do think it's very possible that we can win quarterfinals.
Well, okay, back to the results from today. There has been, I think there has been a lot of conversation over the years about whether or not like the EU NA rivalry is dead, and obviously, this tiebreaker came down to EU versus NA. So do you think this reignited it? Do you think NA fans should be spamming NA greater than EU while we can? I mean, what do you think this says about the rivalry, the victory that you guys were able to have today?
I think this is a very controversial topic, but I do think that the teams from NA at Worlds are similar skill level to the teams that from LEC at Worlds, but I do think that EU overall is a better region than NA. However, as we've seen, like TL beating Mad, and I think 100 Thieves have a chance. Obviously, they're not playing against anyone, but if they do make quarters or something like this, I do think they have a chance. It seems like the other European teams are also having a really rough times in their group, same as NA. So maybe we don't even see many other Western teams in quarterfinals, but I do think that the gap between the Worlds teams is very, very small among NA and EU. But I do agree with with everyone saying that EU as a whole is better than NA.
EU as a whole is better than NA, but I mean, well, you almost started to say the full quote. I have it in front of me. I interviewed Alfari earlier this week. Maybe you saw it on Twitter. He said
I didn't see that.
He said NA currently is at a similar level to Europe, if not better. Europe is not a particularly strong region at this event. I don't expect any of the European teams to make it out of groups. So it sounds like you're not going as far as Alfari is in this quote, but
I'm not going as far.
but you do. Sounds like you do think like similar levels between the NA and EU teams at Worlds. Okay, very good. All right. Well, Do you have anything you want to say to any of the fans out there in this moment? Pop off, do whatever you want, because this is your moment. You guys won.
Um, I'm very happy because I think last time I was interviewed by you, or maybe the time before that, I had to say sorry because I was like inting, or we like lost in an important match. I don't remember. Might have been 100 Thieves or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy now that everyone who is DMing me all the support and everyone that's like commenting on my tweets, supporting me, I'm very happy that I can finally play up to what they expect. Well, actually higher than what they expect. But I just want to thank all the people that were supporting us despite us being 0-3. And I think it's a miracle what happened today, honestly. And I'm very proud of it.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Fudge, for the interview. Congratulations on the win, and thank you on behalf of North American fans everywhere. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things Worlds right here on my YouTube channel. Bigger, better, cooler. That is how I would describe North America's performance now that Cloud9 has officially made it out, and who knows who else will be after I film this outro. But it's also the exact way that you can describe the new Alienware Aurora that has released in celebration of Alienware's 25th anniversary. This thing looks amazing. It's an evolution of their legendary design that you may have seen before you've checked out their stuff. It's fantastic. It's just so neat to see what they are doing over there with this new setup. It's just so beautiful. So anyway, I'd love it if you guys could go check out the new Alienware Aurora. You can do so at alienware.com/Travis. There's a link in the description below, and use my code. And yeah, it's going to be fantastic.